Hello! Welcome to the Tavern Between Dimensions, monthly tabletop RPG podcast. My name is Carl Dunesh, and I shall be your bartender for your time here today. Joining me for service, as always, is the Dungeon Master to the Explorers of Elsewhere, Dan Tyree.
Guten Morgen.
And the only man to win a swearing contest against Gordon Ramsay, Anton Bain.
What did you fucking say?
Oops. I was not expecting that.
Oh well. Yeah, I won.
This will be a slightly different episode of the Tavern Between Dimensions, as we're sort of changing the format slightly. If you like the change, obviously add a comment down below, or just let us know what you do and do not like. With that, how is everyone?
Doing all right.
Pretty good. I'm busy.
Yes,
That is busy.
EOE channel has somewhat kicked off a little recently, hasn't it?
Yeah, we are very quickly approaching. As of the time of recording, we have 2 more episodes to record of the Cormier campaign, and
Oh
then
dear.
we're done. So by the time this comes out, I think those
We'll
2
be done.
episodes are about to release.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm very much looking forward to this episode's topics. They're going to be very, very cool because we have some exciting stuff to unravel.
Yeah, we have a lot to get through, and editing Carl is going to have a field day. But with that, let's begin.
So, everyone,
Yes.
I was having a little snoop around on the interwebs, and I came across this really kind of intriguing small indie dev RPG playtest
Okay.
by the name of ONE D&D.
I think I heard of it.
yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
Yes.
And I was reading through it, and actually there's quite a lot of interesting stuff in it, and I thought, let's have a little chat about it.
I think you're misleading us a bit, Dan. Can you explain what ONE D&D is, please?
So, as everyone kind of in the RPG sonosphere knows, the playtest for the new non-edition of Dungeons and Dragons has been released. ONE D&D is the project code name, and it is the evolution of the 5th edition D&D rule set.
It's 5.5 or maybe even 6th edition, right?
5.5.1.7 version 6.
I mean, looking at what the Wizards are describing about this, it's going to almost become a kind of a living rule book style affair. So there won't be distinct editions, which I mean, it's one way of killing off the edition wars. But I mean, I quite like it, and it's interesting to see how, like, what is presented in this playtest, like how that's been influenced by everything that's happened over the past. Crikey, it's like 10 years since D&D 5th edition came out, right?
Yeah.
It's 2014-ish.
Because they've said that everything previously 5th edition should be backwards compatible with this ONE D&D as well, haven't they?
That is certainly one of the plans. Yes. But I reckon it's just we should quickly have a little look through it, because and just kind of see what it is, because there's a lot of stuff that is interesting, because, like, don't get me wrong, like, this is a playtest, right? So some of the stuff that is in here is obviously being tested. Some of the stuff that's in here is likely going to be deliberately spicy to gauge reaction. I can't help but, there's going to be some, in inverted commas, red herrings or some Hail Marys within this, but I think overall it's just an interesting document. Have you 2 read through it?
Yes, I have. Very interesting stuff.
So I reckon we start at the start and just kind of have a real kind of swing through it. So because of the whole backwards compatibility bit, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because arguably you can't rock the boat too much, because what are we trying to make backwards compatible?
Well, the fact they're also still releasing stuff at the moment, so they've got to make sure all that lot works with whatever they bring up.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, you've got to make sure that whatever is currently in print is still still kind of makes sense in inverted commas when it comes to this. And now the bits that aren't going to be like stuff is going to get superseded, right? Like we've got rules for the races, for example, like the different races. So they're going to get superseded. So the stuff that's in the current player handbook is going to be moot in the grand scheme of things, right? Because there's new elves, new humans, new dwarves. So I guess really it's just the adventure books, like the adventure modules. As long as it's all backwards compatible with that, then we'll probably be all right. So yeah, there's not going to be, I don't think there's going to be anything super groundbreaking. Just like a severe tightening of the bolts.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's an
Or
evolution,
loosening.
right?
Yeah, or loosening of the bolts, thinking about it.
Yeah, making things a bit more freeform. So a loosening,
Yeah.
I think, is the better term there.
And interestingly for us, sorry to cut hands on, but Carl, for you and I, and probably quite a number of people who are listening, we've already kind of experienced something like this in the form of D&D 4th Ed Essentials.
Oh yes,
Because that was like a pseudo edition update that came with 4th edition that
I forgot
changed
about
quite
that.
a lot, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully people won't forget about this when it comes out, but Essentials took all of the feedback from 4th and worked on it, and then they released like a new updated rule set, and they completely revamped the fighter, and they revamped this and they revamped that. So it seems like it's kind of like this is where this is heading, but it's like a first step, like a first iteration. Yeah. So Anthony, you were going to say?
Yeah, one of the things that surprised me about the reveal of ONE D&D and the playtest is the fact they've actually made things simpler to understand, simpler to read, simpler to process, but with more choice built in.
Yeah.
And so you can actually do more with less. And you'll see that in like the races and the spell list, everything, it's actually simpler to understand, but actually you have a lot more options available, which is really what I think ONE D&D is going to be doing. It's going to be giving us many more options to play the different types of adventures we want. And that kind of follows the recent trend in D&D where it's not just fantasy in the Forgotten Realms, it's going beyond that into like the multiverse.
Well, that's where always D&D sort of shined, when you get given options and you can basically give you the molding tools and a lump of clay and be like, build what you like. That's, I think, when D&D is usually at its best, and that's kind of that was like the original pitch of 5th edition, wasn't it? It's like you will have more choice, you will have more flexibility, and yeah, as time's gone on, it got a little bit more regimented. But I think what has made D&D 1 really exciting is, you're right, the amount of options, the amount of customization that you've got. It brings back that idea that you are building your hero again, like literally from the ground up.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of this kind of breadth of choice, I mean, let's have a look at the races, because that's it's a first stop in the document, if nothing else. But there are no hard-coded half races in this play test. There are no half elves, there are no half orcs. Instead, we have children from different humanoid kinds. And I mean, you kind of look at it and think, should this always have been a thing? But like, you can, if you want to be the child of two different races, go nuts. You choose the mechanical stats from one, the aesthetic stats from the other. You do a little mixy matchy. You take the average age. Boom, done. So a half elf is literally a human and an elf. A half orc is a human and an orc. Once upon a time, back in the 4th edition Dark Suns campaign world, there used to be a race called the Mull. And if anyone's gnashing their teeth, I appreciate Mull may have stretched back further, but I saw them in the 4th edition book. Mull were half dwarves,
and that's now possible with this sort of.
And that's now
build.
possible, and like it's not even like it's just easy to do, isn't it? Like, oh, you want to be a half dragonborn, cool. You want to be I mean, imagine
Half
playing
tiefling.
a half tiefling, half ardling or Asimar.
Yeah.
Like you know, and everyone kind of plays. I would argue, quite a few people who play tieflings might enjoy playing up that kind of mixed heritage, like the angel. Am I being tempted by the devilish natures of my heritage? But now you can be like, you could literally have angel and devil on the shoulders.
I really like, by the way, the change they've done to half race. They've streamlined it, so you don't have to worry about like half orcs and half elves and everything. You just pick from one of your parent classes, and the appearance can be anything you want. And they've even gone further with the humans, because you can be a itty bitty human.
You can be a small human, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, just to highlight on your point, the knee-jerk reaction that I had when I saw that there were no distinct half-elves and half-orcs was I kind of went, oh. Because like half-elves and half-orcs have been built up to have such a strong, prominent identity. Like arguably half-elves more so, but like identities that separated from the human or elf choices. This, for example, this might end up being one of the spicy takes. Like, we might well find that there are still half elves or half orcs in the final product, but it's an interesting idea for them to just throw open the gates and say, no, if you want to play a half gnome, half halfling, I mean, that's one of the examples they use. Cool.
Yeah.
Like, there's literally nothing stopping you. Arguably, I suppose there was nothing stopping you doing it in original D&D, but at least now it's codified.
Yeah.
And each one of those classes has been, races has been revised as well. Yes. So the humans are not the 2014 Players Handbook humans that we're used to. They're slightly different, as every single race is different actually now.
Yeah.
We'll just go through some of those changes because they're quite interesting.
Real quick, so like humans are basically variant humans.
Which, to be honest, everyone was playing variant human that I know. I don't know anyone who played base human anymore.
I think, like when D&D Beyond did their survey, I think variant human was significantly more popular than others. But the first stop, the resourceful thing for the human traits, you gain inspiration whenever you finish a long rest.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about that.
This is going to be something that we'll probably scratch the surface of later, but inspiration is now hard written into the game rules. A common consensus I find is that no one really remembers inspiration in 5th edition. I can say, but from personal experience, that I've now gotten to the routine of having to look at the Explorer of Elsewhere's character sheets in the Cormier campaign, looking to see if they have inspiration and have just forgotten, and then I'll say, if they fail a roll, do you want to re-roll that? Because otherwise it's the DM forgets to give it out, the players forget to use it. It's a shame because it does make for some clutch gaming moments.
But now you just have it, which is great.
Right? Yeah, inspiration is hard coded in, so humans getting on a long rest, that's interesting for later. And a first level feat of your choice.
Yes.
So feats are being overhauled back to a more 3rd edition style with feat trees. So they're going to be much in the same as like current warlock invocations or artificer infusions, where you can unlock things at certain levels. It looks like feats are going to be based off that.
Is that like a byproduct? I know it's like a 3rd edition thing, but do you think that's a byproduct of how well Pathfinder did with their feat system? Do you think maybe like Wizards wanted to sort of like get a little bit of that cake and be like, well, that worked really well for them?
I mean, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. The cake that Pathfinder is serving was originally Wizards of the Coast.
Well, yeah, you know what I mean. That's the point I was trying to make. Is like, it was originally 3rd edition. Pathfinder sort of took it, evolved it, and then do you think sort of like, Wizards are now going back to that? Hey, well, look at the versatility their characters have. We could reintroduce that versatility to ours.
I think they wanted to simplify feats. I think new players were getting overwhelmed by having so many choices, and they just weren't able to like pick feats. And so what they've done is you limit the amount of feats you can take, and then you only have to worry about a limited amount of feats each level.
When you say it like that, because my counterpoint to that would be that actually there's probably going to end up being more feats.
100%.
Because some of them will be level gated.
But obviously 5th edition really, like, people very rarely took feats. You took the...
Yeah, I mean, the fact you only got them, at most, you could get, unless you're playing a fighter, you got, 6. 1 for being a human, and then 5 over the space of your adventuring career. Like, whenever I was leveling up a character, if I took an ability score increase instead of a feat, I actually felt a little bit sad. Because for me, feats are exciting. It's an upgrade that gives you more options, 9 times out of 10. Whereas an ability score increase just makes you do what you already do, but 5% better. The other thing that I've noticed, like if we're going back to like first level feats, if we look at 3rd edition or Pathfinder, you get feats like every other level.
Yeah.
So actually, now we're in a position where the feats will probably be less powerful, but
You get more of them.
You get more of them, which means your character will hopefully be a bit more unique by the time you get to whatever level you're getting to. Because like you can play through some campaigns, especially if you multi-class, you'll never get the opportunity to take a feat.
Yeah.
Like if you played a level 3, a third level multi-class.
Yeah, it's definitely very interesting.
Yeah.
The orc is very cool. Basically, a half orc with a sort of bonus action dash ability that gives you 10 HP. Awesome.
So yeah, that dash is very, very similar to what orcs get, as you know, from the Monster Manual or from the player races in the later releases.
It's also oddly coming back to a bonus they had in 4th edition, like half orcs had charge. They could charge an enemy, and it was great as a barbarian, really good as a barbarian.
I'm happy that they are not all proficient in intimidation.
Good change.
That seemed to... Yeah. I can't believe you skipped over it, Anton.
Yeah.
We need to talk about the Ardling.
No, I don't want to talk about the Ardlings, Dan.
Fine. Carl and I will talk about the Ardling.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, you can just take a break while we're doing it.
So it's an interesting race. Interestingly, like
it's the counterbalance to the tiefling, isn't it?
Yeah, it's designed to be the divine opposite of the tiefling. So it's the celestial lineage. Some people are going to argue that Aasimar already kind of filled that slot, but Ardlings at least are visually interesting. Relatively recently, I have been saying to Carl that I was thinking about new races for the Elsewhere campaign that's coming up, and I was thinking, wouldn't it be cool to create a race that was heavily based on like the Egyptian gods, like humanoid bodies, animal heads. As an insight, I'm thinking that because I have to make all of these on Hero Forge, so that's something that I can easily do, and something that can be customized relatively easily, and so on and so forth. And then clearly Wizards were listening in on our conversation, because then they just stole that idea.
You still haven't found that bug in the room yet, have you?
I haven't found it. No. But Ardlings, so they've got animal heads, and then depending on the type of celestial they are, so this is a new terminology they're using. It's not sub races anymore; these are legacies. So depending on whether you're exalted, heavenly, or idyllic, that influences the animal head you might have. But yeah, they can sprout like temporary divine wings.
Well, yeah, I've seen some takes about those wings already. How they completely eliminate full damage for the Ardling. You just activate them like 20 feet from the ground, and you just stop, and then just turn them off and drop to the floor safely. So I know there's been a lot of talk about how OP those wings may be.
Yeah, but Arkruk could do that already anyways. So.
Yeah, Aarakocra, Alkin, they were doing at-will flight at level 1. They were doing at-will flight before it was cool. But yes, another interesting thing is that these three legacies now get spells at 1st, 3rd, 5th. I don't know whether that would continue on or whether you just kind of have those 3. But this idea also translates over into the elves later on, depending on whether you're wood, high, or drow.
Elves are pretty much the same, except they have some spellcasting options, I think, and a few other things removed, but roughly the same. Same with Dragonborn. Dragonborn's very similar.
Yeah, they've kind of been
tweaking it a bit, but
the breath has been condensed into just overall.
I still wish that breath weapon was a bonus action, and I think everybody would prefer it to be a bonus action, because then you can do your cool stuff and breathe fire.
I mean, here's the thing: in kind of reducing the power output of something like a feat, you can now have that as a racial feat. You can breath a weapon as a bonus. Boom, done.
Yeah, potentially.
Dwarves are much of the same.
Although they've had one of the best changes.
Yeah,
Stone Cunning, I think.
Yes.
Stone Cunning is such... If anyone has watched Explorers Elsewhere, they know I'm a very cinematic person. With everything I try to do, much to Dan's chagrin, everything I do, I try to picture, and stone culling just it tickles that
Okay.
cinematic.
Mm.
Vision
Explain
in
to
my
it
brain.
because it's not advantage on history if you're looking at rock. What is
No,
it now?
now as long as you're touching a surface, you gain tremor sense up to 60 feet for 10 minutes. The way I
Yeah.
was describing it when we were doing some pre-prep to this episode was it made me think about Toph from Avatar, The Last Airbender. As long as you have contact with stone, you can see through the stone.
Yeah.
And to me,
Very
that's
good.
that's Daredevil vision. You know, everything sort of quivers and shakes.
I really like the idea of having different types of vision beyond normal and dark vision. So in our Shadowrun campaign, so in the Shadowrun world, dwarves and I believe trolls have
vision.
definitely dwarves have thermographic vision.
That's
So
right.
the elves can see in the dark, but the dwarves can see heat.
Mm.
And there's actually a point in one of the episodes where Matt's dwarf, Bear, is able to see someone through a load of smoke because he could see their like heat signature. Whereas that wouldn't help an elf. And I liked that. Like it kind of gave that additional option, and I think it made that character feel a bit more unique. So giving someone tremor sense, that's cool because that's a different type of vision, right?
What other races have we missed/skipped?
Well, so elves we've already kind of roughly discussed. Gnomes are OP as it should be.
Yeah, gnomes are roughly similar. I think
Roughly
slightly
similar.
changed.
I think some of that stuff's that Gnomish cunning in particular is going to get toned back because advantage on intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saves.
Yeah,
Period.
it's a
That's spicy.
Halflings roughly the same.
Halflings mostly the same. Orcs we've discussed. Tieflings now come in 3 kind of distinct flavors. So 3 lineages, which follow the lawful, neutral, and chaotic.
They can
evil.
also be small.
They can also be small.
Okay.
And now we're at the bottom of that page. I'll also point out that no one has a speed lower than 30.
Yes, including.
Oh, really?
Yeah, including the.
So wood
halflings.
elves go up. Yeah, wood elves go up to 35.
That's right.
But the halflings and the dwarves and the gnomes all gain 5 foot. So everyone has 30 foot base. Thank you for watching. If you're enjoying what we're doing here, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure to check out the other videos here on the Explorers of Elsewhere channel because we're awesome.